big question. What should the government be doing with your money and my money, the taxpayers' money, to drive business forward, to drive the economy forward after coronavirus and in this intermediary time that we're in?
Yes, YouTube, I've been deliberating on exactly what the government should be doing with our taxpayer billions to make sure that your jobs, your businesses and our economy stays intact. And I want to be absolutely clear, I think they've done some stuff right. But to be frank, I think they've done some stuff that's really, really stupid. And so in this video, I'm going to share all. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel
so more people can learn about business and keep in business during the coronavirus.
And as we go through, make sure you comment as well, especially if you disagree with me. And if you agree with me, it's great for my ego. But if you disagree with me, we can have some keyboard warrior moments to see what we disagree on. Honestly, you can say what you like, it really doesn't hurt my feelings. Comment below as we go. So thing number one I think the government have done well on is the furlough situation. That's where the government are paying 80% of furloughed workers' wages. But let me be clear, what I don't like is that people are effectively being paid 80% of their wages to stay at home. The government have committed to this expenditure, but I think they could use that expenditure to drive our economy forward. So I think in industries that are really hard hit, especially leisure, hospitality and tourism, they should allow these sectors to pay the 80% but actually work whilst they're working for that 80%. And then the government, or the companies should I say, top up 20%. So people get 100% of their salaries, but for a couple of months the government are paying 80% of them. That means that those industries, leisure, hospitality, retail, restaurants, cinemas, theatres, can have a chance of surviving. What seems absolutely balmy to me is the taxpayers' money, yours and I's money, is being paid for people to sit at home. Now, whilst that's okay for a short period of time, we're all going to end up like vegetables. There's only so much that we can take of calling our friends and asking how you are.
And frankly, what the government need to do is get the people back to work to drive the economy forward.
The problem is, some people might see this as fraud, where they're collecting the money, they're making just as much money as before, and they're now getting 80% of their wages paid. And common sense needs to be some mean testing. And it's obvious that some industries are really going to struggle. Those industries that we love, those industries like going to the theatre, going to the cinema, going out for a restaurant, things that bring community back together, because of these social distancing rules, they're just not going to be able to operate on the capacity that they did before. So I'd like to see a furlough shake-up. I think that that money that they're paying should be used to drive the economy forward, not to allow people just to sit at home. It's all right if we're just doing it for a month, but if this is going to be prolonged, there needs to be a shake-up there. So please, if you agree with that, please write letters to your MPs. If you would like an example of that letter, you can email me through my website, jamessinclair.net, and I will give you an example letter that you can send to your MP to try and drive this ideology forward. Let's use taxpayers' money to drive the economy forward, not to sit at home. Secondly, as a man that pays around £1 million a year, just say that again, £1 million a year in commercial rents to people like Lakeside Shopping Centre and other commercial landlords, these people are still demanding rent when we're not allowed to trade. I mean, hello, have people lost their complete and utter common sense?
Don't get me wrong, the government have come forward with some security.
But really not enough. What needs to happen is there needs to be a rent holiday for people in leisure, hospitality, retail, or any business that they can't trade because of a legal standpoint, because it's unsafe. How can they be expected to carry on paying their rent? The government need to, with the powers that they now have, completely release businesses that can't afford to pay rent. And for those commercial landlords, which I'm also, I sit in both camps, I'm a commercial landlord and a commercial tenant. We need to make sure that we have mortgage repayment holidays. Now, I've been given those mortgage repayment holidays from my bank, so I've passed on help to tenants where I can. And that's exactly what all commercial landlords need to do. And commercial landlords need to understand that if they don't do this, they'll have no tenants because they won't have a business to come back to. And to that end, I have seen that the government have relaxed insolvency laws. They're about to bring in legislation that allows directors to trade their business in an insolvent position, which they've never been able to do before. Before, it was actually illegal to trade a business if you knew that it was going to go bust. Now, everything changes. So just to sum up there, we want to make sure there's protection to tenants of properties where they cannot pay their rent. They need to have rent holidays so that they can retrade when things go back to normal. Let's move on. The COVID-19 business loans, the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme, otherly known as
Sibbles.
these Sibbles loans are really not getting through to people. There's a pot of about £330 billion, and so far only a few £billion of that money has got to people. For a number of reasons, I'm speaking to lots of business owners. They're reluctant to take on short-term debt. You've got to pay your debt or your Sibbles loan back over 6 years. Considering you get the first year off of interest and capital repayments, that means you could be borrowing a lot of money and have to pay it back over just 5 short years. Now, I understand common sense. The government can't just keep on giving more and more money away, but what they can do is term that debt out. I think they should term the debt out over 10 years so that businesses have more manageable repayments. Like for us, we've got to borrow £600,000 and it might end up being £1 million on a Sibbles loan to help us work through coronavirus business interruption. Rather than paying it over 5 years, if we could pay it over 10 years, that means our business is going to have so much more cash, so much more sustainable, so much more of a chance of riding it through. The government have also been very helpful with business rates. If you're in leisure, retail and hospitality, then you don't have to pay business rates for the next 12 months. I was over the moon about this when this policy came out.
Oh, and then I realised we're closed.
So actually, it doesn't really help us. That 12-month business rates holiday needs to start from when you trade. See, if your building had a fire or a flood and you wasn't allowed to trade because of material change in circumstances, you wouldn't have paid business rates anyway. Take it from me, I've had a fire at one of our sites. When the building was set up on fire, we didn't have to pay business rates. So that 12-month holiday needs to start from when you start trading. Otherwise, it's not a benefit to you, and you're going to need all the cash you can get to market the businesses up. You understand that we're going to have a slow trade when everything goes back to normal because we've had nothing going on from before. We've got to restock up, retrain staff, pay utilities, pay a big chunk of marketing because everyone's going to be at this game. So just to confirm that, start the business rates holiday from when you trade. Let's talk VAT. I think the government should reduce VAT. Gordon Brown done this in the last financial crisis. It gets cash in people's pockets straight away and it saves businesses cash flow. Last time when we were at VAT of 15%, that really massively helped us as a business. It allowed us to pay people more money and it allowed us to work through that challenging time that was the 2008-2009 financial crisis. Going further, I'd like to see the government reduce VAT for certain sectors, especially a service-based business. I'm happy to increase the amount of VAT I pay when I buy a product, for example, a new TV, something like that, a new iPhone, but for a service, actually paying people for their time, where you can't claim any VAT back, I would like to see a lower level of service VAT. For leisure, tourism, hospitality, those guys should be paying 12.5%, and maybe if we're going to go and expend ourselves and buy a brand new TV, happy to pay 22%. It's the people that are working in the service industry that are going to get the hardest hit from this. Deferring tax is something that the government can do, and they have said that the next quarter's VAT can be deferred and paid next year. But that means companies are going to have a huge bill next year. I believe that they should defer any VAT and tax that's due this year if you can't afford to pay it on a means tested basis and pay it over 4 years. It's all about saving cash flow in businesses so these businesses can continue to open.
They can absolutely do this. They only finished off paying World War II in 2015, so they absolutely can term out debt for a long period of time. And I believe they should use everything at their arsenal to save jobs and drive the economy forward.
Also talking about VAT, I import a lot of stuff from the Far East, and as soon as that stuff hits our shores, we have to pay the VAT on the value of those goods. Why? Like everything else, can't we just pay the VAT when we sell it? Now, they did say they was going to do this through the Brexit negotiations if we busted out with no deal. So they have the arsenal, they have the power to do that. They're just cash flowing themselves. Well, we need cash flowing as a tax-paying business. So get that one sorted. You get your money back within a few months anyway, Mr. Government. Come on. Secondly, the property market is going to be stagnant. People are going to be wary about property buying because they're going to be worried about prices. I am too. So an overhaul of the stamp duty system to make it much more fairer and incentivise businesses to take on leases. Not many people know this, but even if you take on a commercial lease, you have to pay stamp duty. So people are going to be very wary about growing their business because of those stamp duty costs. In addition, when they're going to go and buy commercial property, they're going to be worried about the stamp duty and if that property is going to fall in price. So at the government's means is making sure they reduce stamp duty to incentivise people in the next 6, 9, 12 months to invest in property, grow their business, etc, etc. I say invest in property, and as a person that's very into property and invests in property, I'm not keen for stamp duty to be reduced on investment buy-to-let property. I know there's some people that are going to follow me. I think James Wyvie just said that you've blown our market out. I want the reduction in stamp duty to go to people buying their next home and to commercial business. I don't want it to be for commercial investment. So if I'm buying a building that's going to employ people and drive the economy forward rather than investment, then yes, I would like a stamp duty relief. If I'm buying a property to invest to make my own personal wealth grow, and I know you might say, well, that's what a business does. I'd prefer stamp duty to go to the people that want to employ people and grow jobs if there is going to be some relief. So I'd like to see that from the government so that people can plan. You might be thinking here, well, James, what about all of this money-giving stuff that you've been saying? How's this going to be afforded? Well, number one, don't forget the government only paid off World War I in 2015, and this is the closest thing to a war. So I'd like the government to term this stuff out as long as possible so that we're not paying huge amounts of tax in the next couple of years as we go through an economic recovery. But I have got an idea of someone that can help pay this, and that is digital services companies. I've seen, myself, my buying habits, as I've spent loads on Amazon and online shopping, and I think that there should be just a small 1 or 2% levy on digital shopping buying, because they've been going like gangbusters through coronavirus, and I think we should get those guys to just help. Lastly, I think governments should be putting some real pressure on insurers. For someone that was relying on business interruption claims to help our business, I haven't seen much forthcoming from our insurers. I'm really hoping that the government really put the pressure on insurers to cough up, because that would game change everything. So use your legal powers, Mr. Government, to make sure that insurers pay their fair share, because I'm not seeing that happen. They've got assets, and in this time of crisis, when businesses are expecting insurers to help and they're not coughing up, then we're in real trouble. Now, I know what you're thinking as an insurer. The premises of insurance is the premiums of the many paid for the losses of the few. And now the premiums of the many have got to pay for the losses of the many. We're in a stalemate situation. So my view is, if the government have got a £330 billion loan pot, why don't they just give 100 billion of that to insurers to divvy up amongst businesses on a means-tested basis? They did something similar in the London riots, so they have done that before and they can do that again. One of the things that the government have at their arsenal that they can do so easily is use the laws that they can create. They've got more power than they've ever had before. Surely before we all went into lockdown, the government put in some laws to give them extra powers, more powers than they've ever had before, to put laws in place. One of the things that I think the government should be using right now is, with those new extra powers, is give directors and companies powers against nasty people that are going to try and close companies down, not because of bad management, but solely because of COVID-19. There needs to be insolvency protection for good companies that were doing really well that are now struggling due to coronavirus. Let's protect jobs, protect the economy. Allow companies to have protection against nasty landlords and nasty people trying to wind up companies that have done nothing wrong other than just build great businesses that have now had the plugs completely turned off of them. And then, ladies and gents, rounds up what my beliefs are the government should be doing. Lastly, I would just like to add this. If you're watching anyone from government, remember, tax companies on profit, don't tax turnover. The turnover is going to hurt cash flow on businesses more than ever. Stop taxing turnover, start taxing profit, and you've got a chance of bringing our economy back and building brilliant businesses here in the United Kingdom. So that's it, gang. That is my summary of what I think the government should be doing to help businesses through COVID-19. If you want to go further, then why don't you try my Entrepreneurs University? It's where I will coach you how to build a successful business, whether you want to start, build, grow, or scale. You can try it for free. There's a link in the video description, or you can go to my website, jamessinclair.net. Try the Entrepreneurs University. Watch this video to grow your business, and make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye.